Hey everyone, and welcome back. I have my bestest friend Whitney with us here today. Whitney?
Greetings.
I was just about to say introduce yourself, but I feel like that would be redundant.
Been here.
Done that.
Facts.
How do you feel if I turned it up?
Oh my, I was shocked, but I feel great.
I turned it up, so now we can hear ourselves even better. Okay, so apparently, first of all, you're going to hear it squeak a lot. Sorry in advance. Apparently, Whitney has some life news update, and I don't know it yet. And she said she's going to tell me on the podcast. So all of my reactions will be real and genuine. I'm not going to be like...
I'm not expecting too much of a reaction. It's big, but I'm not like a reactive person. Like, someone will be like, this crazy thing happened, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'll mean it.
Yeah.
But, like, that's how I say it.
But that's how you say it. Yeah. No, I actually feel like that's accurate. Mm-hmm. In a nice way. I feel like I've told you stuff and you're like,
I just have to
wow,
kind of be like,
yeah.
I mean it.
Yeah.
I promise I'm excited, but like...
People just have to know you, and then they'll know.
Then it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if they don't know you, then they're like, I'm never telling her anything ever again.
Like, so that was underwhelming.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Oh my.
Let's hear it.
So Kyra said I could take the reins on this one.
I did.
And... so I guess it's kind of about like personal revelation in my life or my experience using personal revelation to guide me in big choices. Because something about that I don't like is that it's like we're in like the decade of decisions is like what I've heard it called.
I've never heard that
and
before.
Ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth?
Like pretty much your 20s, or I guess like kind of like when you're like 18 to like 28. I feel like somewhere in there, it's just like choose your school and choose your life and choose your career and choose your job and choose where you go and choose where you live. Like, all you're doing is like major decisions.
Choose who you marry and spend eternity with.
That's the other one I was like, I feel like there's more than school. Okay, so last weekend, a lot happened, but I'm going to preface it with the revelation I've had up to this point.
Boom.
So my original school plan was to go to USU, and I was like, great, except when I was like trying to find housing, there was no housing, and when I was visiting, I was like,
I remember this.
I don't want to go. Like, I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I was not excited.
The one time Whitney was...
I really meant it.
Yeah, she really meant
it. It was exactly as it seemed.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my, this is great, you know. So anyway, and like SUU, I'd already, when everyone was like, what school are you going to? I was like, I don't know, USU or SUU. But I'd always ordered them that way as far as like preference.
Fair.
And I hadn't ever thought about it that much. It was just like, guess I'm going to USU. And my older sister was up there, and so like it seemed cool, and I had friends up there. So I was like, great, that's my decision. But anyway, it felt wrong. I didn't want to go. Like, it didn't feel good. Like, I was like, oh my. And then I couldn't find housing. I couldn't get anything to work out. Nothing was right. And then I was like, and my parents were like, make your decision. And this is literally in like July. And so like people have housing. You're going to school in like a month.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it was June. And so anyway, I was like, make a decision. And I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
I was like, I already made a decision.
Had you been accepted to both schools already?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had applied to like the schools in Utah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so anyway, I finally decided to go to SUU, and then the same decisions I was trying to make were working out. Like, I couldn't find housing in Blanding. That's where I lived like my first semester. I couldn't find housing in Blanding when I was going to USU to the extension. And then when I switched to SUU, it's like, oh, here's some houses to live in. And so like I had an apartment and like everything, and then it was like, oh, I do want to live in Blanding. I just didn't want to live in Blanding for 2 years. Like, for the extension was my original plan. And so then like I was like, oh, 1 semester, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, just enough to get what I wanted from it, you know, but like to not be like, I can't stay here.
So to explain, you did your first semester of SEU online. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just wanted to make that clear.
Yes.
That's how we met.
This is true. We had an online class, and I was like, want to be study buddies?
That's literally what happened.
Mm-hmm. Canvas message.
Yep. I think you messaged how many people?
Maybe 3. It was like...
the first few people who responded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, these seem like good students.
Yeah. And then I'm the only one who responded back, right? Or
I feel like one other person like gave me their number, but like it just like never went anywhere.
Yeah.
And then the other person or two didn't respond.
Yeah, because we had human biology together, and our professor said, you can take quizzes together.
I suggest you get
please
a friend.
do that. You know?
And I was like, this is an online class. How do you expect us to do that?
Yeah.
But I was committed. So.
Anyway, that's how we met. Continue.
Anyway, so I decided to go to SU, and everything works. And so it's just pretty much, it was guided. Like, I couldn't make the decision I had made. And so it was like, oh, and then once SUU, I felt better. It went better. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got to SUU. And then choosing a major, I have taken like a bunch of education classes, several psychology classes, several of like everything, and several FLHD, I think is kind of where I like mostly dabbled. But I took my nutrition 1020 and I was like, I love this so much. And so for that one, it didn't take a lot of revelation or interference. I just like took the class and was like, I think this is my major. Mm-hmm. And like the more classes I've taken, just the better it's been. So like for like sophomore year even, I was like, I know my major is nutrition. That's not changing. It's just what I want to do with that. Mm-hmm. That's like still trying to make a decision kind of deal. And so then trying to make the decision to be an occupational therapist, which has been my plan up to this point. Sorry.
No, I'm excited. I'm confused where this is going. I'm making facial expressions at her.
Okay, so I'm at SUU. That's good. I have a nutrition major. That's good. And then it's like, what master's program do I want? People do a lot of different things with it. And I didn't think I wanted to be a dietitian. I was like, I do like nutrition, but I don't want to be a dietitian necessarily. Just for like various reasons. I didn't want to like freelance very bad. A little less money than an occupational therapist, stuff like that. And I have dislocated both my knees, and I've had surgery, and I've gone to like physical therapy. And so I was like, after I dislocated my other knee, I was like, is this a sign that I should do something like physical therapy? I mean it. And it kind of felt like it was. Like it seemed like the right thing at the time. Okay. And so I was like,
no, I totally live life like that too.
Because, like when they're talking about revelation, it's like, mm-hmm. if it seems like a good thing and it feels good, it's not going to be bad, mm-hmm. and you'll get help along the way. Mm-hmm. So, like, I was like, okay, I'll move forward with that. Mm-hmm. So all my prereqs are physiology stuff. But then, let's flash forward, that's still backward. Move up in the timeline to Friday, beginning of last weekend. I have a meeting with my professor on Friday, just for, like, I had a question on homework, just a little clarifying question. But then I actually didn't have the question by the time I had the meeting with the professor, but I still had made the appointment, so I went. She's like, oh, tell me about you, your hobbies or interests. We have some of the same hobbies, yada, yada. We hit it off, right? Mm-hmm. This is going great. And then I'm like, oh, and I've kind of been thinking about switching from occupational therapy to dietetics. And I had all summer, I'd kind of been like, actually last year I took chemistry and it killed me. And I was like, if it weren't for organic chemistry, I would be a dietitian, I think. Mm-hmm. Like, I love nutrition, and so I was like, honestly, I'd be a dietitian if it weren't for more chemistry. I took Chem 1 and 2, but I was like, I can't take OChem. Like, that one has, like, such a reputation, mm-hmm. and I barely made it through regular.
And OChem is organic chemistry.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. And so anyway, I was like, if it weren't for that, I'd be a dietitian. So anyway, I told my professor, I was like, oh, I'd be a dietitian, I think. I'm kind of thinking that way. She's like, oh, well, let's see what classes you've taken, and, like, you should have, she's like, so I have 2 classes with her, and she's like, you should drop one of those classes because it'd be repeated in the dietetics program at SUU, which only opened this year. So it's like a brand new master's program. And so...
Wait, hold up, rewind. A master's program at SUU.
An SUU master's. I know.
And I want to stay here at SUU.
These are the facts.
I'm so excited. Okay. Sorry. Continue.
And so... we're only at the exposition,
These are the facts.
Okay, maybe that's the inciting incident, is my meeting with my professor.
Okay,
We've got through the exposition.
Okay.
So anyway.
Yeah, that would be the, yeah.
Okay. I feel good about that.
Yeah.
So we're working toward a climax. I don't know what it is, but anyway. Never mind. So,
it's just like this whole, I love that you're just putting a plot diagram in there.
I've told this story so many times that, like, every time I refine it a bit, you know?
Absolutely. I've done that all the time.
I'm like, okay, so now, this story being, like, so recent.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm exhausted. Okay. So anyway, I'm meeting with her, we hit it off, and she's like, oh, you should drop my class and add a different class, and we get out the sheet of, like, the classes I need for the dietetic program.
The degree work? No, okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I got it.
Right, so anyway,
Right.
it's just a printed piece of paper of, like, the courses you need to take to apply to the program. And I've taken, like, a lot of them because I'm still a nutrition degree. It's just not pre-dietetics, it's allied health. But I'm going to switch. Actually, I did switch. Spoiler!
Ooh!
So I'm officially going to be a dietitian. So anyway, I've switched to a pre-dietetic route. And so I just have to take a few different classes instead of, like, some of the classes will be repeated in the master's program because it's a 4+1. And so some of them are integrated and only one extra year of school beyond the bachelor's.
So how long is the master's program?
Well, it's just one extra year.
That's it?
Yeah. Because it's an accelerated course.
Oh.
And so, like...
And you're not graduating till 25?
2025, yeah.
Okay. So I still have you for at least 2 more years.
Right.
Okay.
More on that later.
Oh!
Okay. I'm telling you, it was the biggest weekend ever.
Wow.
In a stressful way. But I'm feeling
Sometimes
better.
stress has to happen.
Eustress,
in order-
de-stress.
Yeah. Yes, she knows.
I've taken a lot of classes.
I also I think I talked about eustress and de-stress in my very first episode.
Slay.
Anyway.
So anyway, you know, listeners.
You know.
Okay, so we're talking classes. It all feels great. Like, I think I'm changing my major. And I think I want to be a dietitian. So I've already changed my major in my life and my career.
I have a question. Was it exciting?
Yeah.
Then you know it's right.
Right. And I was like, oh my.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So I get out of my meeting with my professor. We hit it off. And she's like, you could apply January 2nd. Like, to get accepted, if I just wanted to go right from, like, graduating into the program, I could apply this January for a master's program. And I was like, that's huge. That's crazy.
That's making me overwhelmed because I have to apply this December.
Not December!
Yeah.
That's insane. So stressful.
By December 15th.
All right.
And yours is January 2nd.
Right.
We can work on our CV together.
More on that later.
Oh.
The plot has not even thickened yet, man.
Oh, dang. We're still in the rising action.
Facts. Oh, I like it. Keep with the analogy.
You know, why not?
Right. And so we hit it off, and she's like, you'd apply January 2nd. And I'm talking about, like, oh, I love my job at the daycare. I've always had a food handler's permit. And also, I love food. And I was really, like, high energy last week. Like, I was just, like, high energy. I was talking. I was charismatic. I had all the bells and whistles.
She had the riz.
Right. I was rizzing this professor. Platonically and respectfully.
She was very charismatic with some... Anyway, continue.
Anyway, so she's like, you should apply. I think you'd be a great candidate. And let me say this. This professor that I'm talking to is the director of the program.
Of the dietitian?
Of the dietetics program.
As in you would get in?
As in she is, like, the one who, like, lets me in. And she's like... Your job at the daycare is great. Oh my gosh. Okay, my weekend was huge. Thursday, I interviewed for 2 new jobs, and I got offered both of them. And one of them was an occupational therapy type job.
Okay.
One of them was a nutrition type job. And she's
Okay.
like, TAing in the nutrition department. And so she's like, with the TA job and with your daycare, like, food prep job, and you always have a food handler. Like, she's like, you'd be a great candidate. And I'm volunteering at the Hope Pantry, and I'm like... I would be a great candidate. Like, I've got it all together. And so at that point, I feel great about changing my major because I already have... Anyway, it's a long story.
Yeah.
I'll just keep the main revelation points.
Right.
So anyway, I get out of the meeting. I feel great. I feel happy. I feel peace.
You're on top of the world.
I am like, it all makes sense.
Absolutely.
Everything up to this point makes sense. God is in the details. My life is together. I can see it all now.
Right.
All of
1000%.
that. I was like genuinely thinking those exact thoughts. Like,
I know. I believe that. I've thought them before.
Right. And it's great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It feels amazing.
Right. And so then I had 2 classes until my only class on Friday. And so, 2 hours until my class on Friday. And so I'm like walking around like, well, my life has changed and this is crazy and I feel great. So anyway, I have my class and then I have an appointment at the temple that I had made just like the day before because I felt like it. Interesting. And so I'm like, basically, I already feel pretty good, but I'm just going to go to the temple and confirm tonight. Right. So I have a temple appointment at like 2:30 and I like get in there and it's nice. And then I have stress and tension headaches, like really bad. Like I can't focus. I always kind of have like a 2 or 3 on the pain scale. And sometimes it really gets It's not a migraine, it is a headache, but it's a really bad one, right? And I get a raging headache in the temple, like raging. And like your face, you're like, ugh.
I'm like, that's awful.
Like a raging headache. And part of it's because I'm not like doing other things and like distracting myself.
Were you drinking water?
From the pain. I'm always hydrated.
Okay.
Like, I always blame it on dehydration, but like,
okay.
I'm actually always hydrated.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
It's just like tension headaches. I have TMJ. I have a bad jaw, so I think it's like heavily related to that. So anyway, I get this raging headache in the temple, and I feel stressed. I don't feel great, and I was like, I am here to confirm my life changing. Like,
what is it?
What is going on?
Yeah.
And so here's the bomb.
This is the climax. I already know.
Anyway, and so then I'm like, interesting that you haven't served a mission. You've thought about serving a mission. And I've never put the idea down. Kyra. And so I've never put the idea down. I've just never gone. And it's not that I do or don't want to go. It's just that, like, I keep not going. And as time passes, like, eventually the season of serving a mission will pass. And so I've just kind of avoided it at this point because I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So also, not all summer, several times over the summer, like I went to like mission homecomings and I was like, that's funny. Moving on. Just like little nudges, but not like,
no, I get it.
I was able to move on kind of promptings.
Yeah.
Just little things like my friend would be like, mission's the greatest thing ever. And if you're like this, it would be great. And I'm like, oh, I'm like that. You know, and then I'd move on.
Yeah.
So anyway, now we're back. I'm in the temple on Friday evening and I'm like, I would like to put the thought of a mission down, please. And it just doesn't leave. And also I just feel like distressed because I'm trying to ignore that thought. And by the way, I've processed all of this. At the time, it just felt chaotic and bad. You know, at this point, I can kind of like diagnose some of it. So anyway, I'm like in the celestial room. And normally like I can flip to a random scripture and it'll like feel like revelation. And I'm not saying that wasn't the case, but like I was like trying to get revelation, just confirmation that what I was doing was right. And I flipped to like 25 scriptures, I swear. Like some people don't spend very long in the celestial room. Like my mom will leave in like 5 minutes. I was in there for like a good 25 minutes and I was like, tell me something, tell me something, tell me something. And every time it was just like, keep the commandments. And I was like, I'm here. I think I'm doing my best. Like, it's like, thanks for nothing, I guess, you know?
I'm trying to be quiet so that the video and the audio isn't ruined. But I'm just like, what? I'm dying over here. This is awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
Continue.
So anyway, I'm just kind of like, what was I just saying?
You're dying. Keep the commandments. Keep the commandments.
And so like, all the scriptures I'm reading, like 20 of them, I swear, like, keep the commandments. I'm like, turns out that's the theme of the whole Bible and the whole Book of Mormon and the whole Pearl of Great Price. Like, I couldn't find anything else. And so after, like, 25 minutes, I don't know, I don't wear a watch, but, like, after, like, everyone else from the session was long gone, I was like, well, I gotta go. Like, I was going to Vegas for the weekend for a concert, and so my friend was rolling into town in 20 minutes. And
You
so
did,
like,
too?
Ed Sheeran, my guy.
Oh, this last weekend. So we were in Vegas together.
Oh, right, because Jonas Brothers.
Yes.
I was going to text you about that, actually.
Was it canceled, though? I thought it was canceled.
No, Ed.
Yeah. I heard about that. I heard Ed was canceled.
I love Ed. Devastating. So anyway, my friend's coming in like 20 minutes, and I'm like, I gotta go. And so actually, she arrived like 3 minutes to my house before I did, and she like came from Provo. And so like, we get there, and I'm like, this is great, and we catch up, and all night, you know, we're talking. But like every 20 minutes, I would be like, but I just don't get it. Like, I was like freaking out, right? And so like, bless her heart, I talked myself in and out of everything that had happened up to that point, like 100 times. And then I called my sister the next morning. And at that point, I'm willing to admit out loud that I've been prompted about a mission, at least to ask the question.
You just didn't want to acknowledge it.
No, because here's the thing. If I acknowledge it, I have to ask the question. If I ask the question,
You
I
might
have
be
to
told
act
yes.
on it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I've never done that recently because I'm just like,
Yeah.
I've got to be willing. I've got to, like, get there, you know? And it's not that I'm not willing, but I'm not acting very willing, so
I relate to that in so many ways.
You're just scared of the answer.
Absolutely. It's like, I'm not going to pray about it, because I pray about it, he might tell me yes, you know?
Exactly, yeah. And so I'm just panicking, but luckily by, like, Saturday morning, I accept and tell my sister, I'm like, I might serve a mission. And she's a return missionary, so she's like, amazing, like so excited, you know. So anyway, I've definitely felt promptings about that, and I'm trying to decide which job, because they've both offered to me, And I have tried my guts out. Like, over the summer, I was like, had a very hard time because I as good as had 2 different occupational therapy type jobs, but I couldn't get them. And so that was one prompting that already prepared me for receiving the idea that I should be a dietitian. You know, like, I'd already had a few little signs of like, you're very qualified, but for some reason you're not getting hired for these occupational therapy jobs that, like, had you in for an interview, liked you, you're available. Like, it was really weird that I couldn't get the jobs. And so I thought my final sign was not getting the campus job that I applied for that was like kind of occupational therapy vibe. But then I got it. And so that sent me back in the tailspin of like, I thought that was my sign, not getting the nutrition job, but not the OT job. But then I got both just because, what can I say?
She can just, you know.
I was very charismatic that week. I'm telling you, my interviews, they were like, wow, we need her. No. So anyway, I was panicking because, like, that seemed, like, redacted. But I eventually, after talking through it, like, 600 times, because I was, like, stressed out of my little mind. So I talked about it so much, I was like, okay. I definitely felt confirmation in the morning about changing my degree. I just felt so good. I'm not going to take that away from myself. So I got the confirmation for changing my major and degree or whatever career in the morning, and I'm taking that. But then the temple later, after I had that confirmation, it's just that that's not all you need to know, you know? So, like, I got confirmed, and then I was like, okay, why am I panicking? And I was like, I think it's because you keep getting this nagging idea in your little thought in your head, you know? And so I was like, okay, so I'm good on that, but there's still more work to be done kind of situation. And so anyway, I, like, didn't sleep good all weekend, thought about it all weekend. At this point, I'm thinking mission. I just don't know when. So I'm not applying to the program January 2nd, but I am applying to the program. So I do want to be a dietitian. I do want to go to SUU's master's program. Because here's the greatest thing about it, or one great thing. A, I'm going to get in probably. B, I like SUU. C, in-state and SUU tuition.
D, you have friends here.
D, I have friends here. E, get this, there's more, is it doesn't require organic chemistry, and very few programs don't require it.
It does not.
And that was my deal breaker on being a dietitian was OChem, and like they require like a general chemistry that includes like a unit of OChem.
That makes sense.
But I'll survive. I can do it.
Right, it's not a whole class.
It's not the OChem class.
Right,
and
right,
so,
right.
Anyway, it pretty much resolves all of my fears, and so I was like, okay.
Wow.
I'll apply, just not in January, because I'd have to take a summer semester. So I don't know if I'm going to mission next semester or after, like, this academic year.
Yeah.
Right now I'm still in the acceptance and willingness stage. I think I've taken that pretty well. Definitely by conference, I'm asking when, you know, like
That's
working
genius.
on papers and stuff like
Yes.
that. So.
Honestly, I'm just really happy for you.
Thank you.
And I'm not disappointed or sad that you'll be in a mission now, because if I get into the PsyD program, I'll be here for 5 years.
That is so long.
Well, it's a doctorate program.
I know.
I guess I've just always accepted that it'll be 5
feel
years,
like-
so I never...
I thought doctorates were like 3.
Master's programs.
Masters are 2. I guess
Master's programs are
doctorates
like
are like 4. At best.
6 to 8, 5 to 6, 5 to 8.
Oh, I forgot about all that.
It depends
I
on-
think I would get a doctorate, but
It depends
I'm
on the
okay.
doctorate program, but most of them are like 6 to 8 years. So SEU's, the fact that SEU's is 5 makes it more competitive because people want to do it in less.
That is
So 5's actually
real.
not very long, and it's 4 years of schooling and 1 year of just clinicals.
okay.
So anyway,
You'll
I'm
be
okay-
around.
Yeah, so
Still
I'll be
got it.
around, so I'm
Yeah,
okay with it.
Exactly. I mean, and my younger sister just started as a freshman here, and so like she'll probably still be around. And honestly, next semester I have anatomy, which is like also super like in all my peers are like
Not anatomy.
so scared of anatomy and so scared of organic chemistry. Like those are the 2 classes that like have their reputation precedes them, right? And so next semester I have anatomy, and I'm like, if I had to go on a mission, I guess I could live with that, you know, put it off. So
Maybe you'll come back with all of this knowledge.
right, I'll just come
you'll
back
just
better,
be-
you know.
You'll just be ready to go.
Well, I'm like, okay, and then further confirmation to where I've accepted is like, my sister's like, oh my gosh, you should. I haven't told my best friend yet about the mission half. She knows about the career half because she's going to be like, mission! Maris is like, oh, you should. And then, like, my professor emails me, and she's like, I saw that you dropped that class. Are you applying? And I was like, I'm applying, but mission? And she's like, oh, you would be a great missionary.
Aww.
And, like, I have an appointment
I'm sure she's a member, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because, like, during our meeting, I was like, I have a meeting at I have an appointment at the temple. And she's like, oh, yeah, that'll be great, you know?
Yeah.
She's like, I understand if you don't want to apply, but, like...
You should.
I'm excited to see what you do, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, she's like, oh, you'd be a great missionary. And then, like, my mom, like, a year ago was like, you would have been a good missionary. And I was like, okay, I'm only 19. And so that was kind of funny.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then, who else? I was, like, talking to a friend in my horsemanship class.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, when I served my mission. I was like, oh, where'd you serve? And she's like, Georgia. And then she's like, did you serve? And I was like, no, but I might. And she's like... You should. They're so awesome.
I freaking love that.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think. There were like two other... Oh, I had a meeting with my advisor. And I was like, and by the way, like a mission won't like disrupt... Because I had to change my degree works. And I had a meeting with my advisor. And I was like, a mission wouldn't change anything, would it? Mm-hmm. You know? And she's like, no. That would be great, you know?
Also probably
She's like, it always works out so well, you know? It works out better. And she's like, and if anything, they count it as service hours. Like it... adds to an application for grad school,
okay.
Or at least it doesn't detract.
Yeah,
you know? Because I was worried about like if I'd only taken relevant classes in the last like 2 years or something. Because like math is obsessed with that.
Absolutely.
And she's like, if anything, it adds to your application, and just everyone's like, that's such a good thing, or like, oh. That's my last one. I was talking to my biology friend. Different biology friend. You're no longer a bio friend. You're just a friend.
I'm actually okay with that.
You are totally a friend. So take that out. I was talking to my friend in biology, and I ministered to her last year in my ward, so I like already kind of knew her.
Yeah.
And she was like, I was saying that my weekend was crazy, and I was like, I might think it's mission. And then she's like, oh, I loved my mission. Well, we were talking anyway. I was like, I love structure and I love rules. Like, I genuinely...
We do. We both do.
We are structure and rules girlies.
We do.
Routines,
we really are.
Eat them up.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, oh, then you'd be great on a mission.
Right.
I was like, yeah. I do think I would fit
That's
well.
what I've been told.
Right. So they say.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's where I'm at.
Okay, but that was way bigger news than I ever thought it would ever be.
It was like 3 big newses.
Yeah, that was huge.
Like.
That was huge. Well, what's funny to me is that when you said it, no one can see my facial expression, so I'm probably just quiet. But my jaw hit the ground.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you know. Anyway.
Literally.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I think that's kind of my revelation that I've had.
Boom.
And like my patriarchal blessing goes a little into it. Mm-hmm. Like
about a mission?
No, nothing on a mission.
Okay.
But a lot on education and like, you know, listening to the Holy Ghost while I decide. But it's a little bit cryptic, but I feel that it applies nicely into my decisions. And so that's me.
So for the word of the day, Whitney, go.
Okay, it's deluging or like a deluge. So in a sentence, there was a deluge of crazy feelings about my whole life. Basically it means like a severe flood, but you don't have to use it literally. That's the best I got.
I respect it. And then a quote of the day. Okay, so I paused it and I was looking at quotes under the definition of personal revelation quotes, LDS. And I read like 3 or 4 of them, and then I read a few of them out loud to Whitney, and I found the one that's it. She's the one. Quote, in my study of the scriptures, I have noted that most revelation to the children of God comes when they are on the move, not when they are sitting back on their habitations waiting for the Lord to tell them the first step to take. And that is by Elder Dallin H. Oaks.
Might I apply some relevant stuff?
Please do.
So I got endowed over the summer in May. There were a lot of reasons I did, but like one of them was like, I was like, at least it's moving forward.
Absolutely.
Like exactly like that's why.
Yeah.
And like I had a mission thought a time or two, and I was like, at least that's forward. At least that's on the covenant path, you know, even if it's not a mission.
Keep the commandments. Keep the commandments.
Keep the commandments.
Yeah.
Be on the covenant path.
Keep the dang commandments.
Honestly. And so it's true. I was trying to move forward.
I was actually thinking about that. I was like, and you were just endowed, which is like another thing, you know?
And I was going to the temple,
Boom.
you know?
Yeah, you were on the move. Yeah, you were on the move to get a confirmation.
I try.
The freaking men. One of these days, just a little spoiler, I had a similar experience that you were talking about.
Ooh.
Except not on a mission, but like something else, like career path. And I have wanted to tell it on my podcast so many times and just haven't done it yet. So that will be coming one day.
Amazing.
The end. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to embrace imperfection, find meaning, satisfaction, and joy from the journey, and go find that personal revelation. I'm Kyra.
I'm Whitney.
And this is Imperfectly Broken, the podcast.
Do, 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 do.